You are listening to the Intelligent Vocalist Podcast, episode 172.
Welcome to the Intelligent Vocalist with John Henny. This is the podcast dedicated to help you be a smarter, better, more informed singer. And now, your host for the Intelligent Vocalist, John Henny.
Hey there, this is John Henny. Welcome back to another episode of The Intelligent Vocalist. I do so appreciate you spending your precious listening time with me. All right, we are now in month 2 of the coronavirus lockdown, at least here in Los Angeles. I know it's different in different parts of the world, but I don't think there's anywhere that life has gotten back to normal in any way, shape, or form. And as I talked about previously, we're getting knocked out of routine and getting knocked out of habit. And on today's podcast, I'm very happy to speak with Sidonie Smith. Sidonie is a musical theater actress in Europe. She's appeared as the lead in The Bodyguard, Jekyll and Hyde, West Side Story, Rent, Sweeney Todd, just a huge list of credits, really successful. And she also specializes in helping creatives, musical performers, singers with mindset. And especially during this time, it can be a little discouraging when there's no work on the immediate horizon, and vocal routines and just your general attitude, your mojo, if you will, can suffer. And so Sidonie has unique insight into that. I was also happy to speak with her about her work ethic and how she became a musical theater performer. I think you'll find her story very interesting, but she really does personify the focus, determination, and grit that you need to succeed in this business. She's really an inspiration. I had a great time speaking with Sidonie. Her whole spirit and vibe is so warm and wonderful, and I think you will enjoy listening to her as well. So without further ado, I bring you Sidonie Smith. I am here with Sidonie Smith. Sidonie, welcome.
Thank you so much.
And you are joining us from Berlin.
I am. It's one of the most beautiful cities in the world.
And you've been, before the shutdown, you're doing quite a bit of musical theater in Germany?
Yeah, I've been based in the German-speaking countries, Switzerland, Austria, and Germany for about 11 years. I was about to go on a German tour, but before that, I've just been stationed in several cities in Europe doing musical theater.
Oh, that must be a blast.
It really is. I never thought I'd be doing Broadway abroad, but that's what happened.
So just to get us started, because one of the main reasons I wanted to speak with you is you have some wonderful ideas and guidelines for singers to help get us through these trying times. But before we jump into that, just kind of give us your quick history of becoming a performer at a high level.
Well, my musical background is actually in classical strings. I'm a violinist and a violist, and I studied viola in college, and I just had a light bulb moment one day when I just knew that I wanted to try theater, that I wanted to sing, and I went for it. I relinquished my scholarship so that I could just put together the curriculum I wanted, because I needed to learn so many things, and I needed to learn them quickly because I was a senior. From there, I took every class I could find. I audited things. I volunteered. I swept stages just to learn. And I took from the best people around. I took voice from the best people I could find. One of my favorite teachers, she's now in the course at the Met. And I was just so excited to have people believe in this violist, that she could actually be a professional singer, someone who'd never sung a note out loud before. fast forward, I went to grad school to study musical theater, and my plan was to finish up school and then do some regional work in the States and then move to New York, which is, the dream. But my dreams were fulfilled in a way that I totally didn't expect, because I was sitting in class one day in grad school, and all of a sudden we found ourselves doing a kind of a belting workshop with a lady I'd never met before. And at the end of it, she offered me a position studying at a 3-week program in the south of Germany. It was an extended belting workshop. And I thought, okay, well, I have some goals in the area of belting. I really, really want to develop a mixed voice. And there's a lot I want to do there. But I turned it down because of the price a couple times. And then finally, I got still and realized it was something that I really wanted to do. And decided I was going to make it work, and the money came, and I went to Germany. I always say that I went to Germany for 3 weeks, and 10 years later, here I am. But during that workshop, I had an audition that I thought was for a job. I actually thought I was auditioning for The Lion King, but the production company was actually looking for one more girl to round out their conservatory class for the year. They were looking for a girl who was no older than 25 and that lived in Hamburg to continue her studies. And I met my next dream voice teacher. Her name is Elizabeth Eaton. And we worked together for about 15 minutes. And I understood. I was ready to hear and understand. And I made the move. I moved to Germany 3 weeks later, and I started school. And a year later, I started my career, and I've never left.
What I love about your story is it really illustrates how open you have to be in this business.
You really do. I tell people all the time that it's not going to turn out how you think, and that's great. That's really great, because your ideas and inspirations are wonderful and they're divine and all of that. But what actually happens is so much better if you allow it to, if you just follow the open doors.
And you can't be resistant.
No.
Going back, playing strings, how much did that help you as you transitioned into a singer, your background as a musician?
Well, when I was starting out and I felt like I didn't know anything. I have so much to learn. One of the things that centered me is I asked myself, okay, Sid, what can you do? What are you good at? And I thought, my musicality, I understand music. Okay, so I'm going to approach this piece knowing how clean the intervals will be, because I understand. It was City of Angels. That's there's not a morning that I open up my eyes. What's the name of the song? Someone out there will get it for me. But I thought, okay, these intervals are tricky, but I got that. And so I just kind of hung on to what I knew I did well and kept climbing the rungs as I got better and better as a vocalist.
Yeah, but it's also a big awakening when you realize how different the voice is from a fixed instrument.
It's shocking to all of a sudden be your instrument.
I've worked with great musicians that just struggle when they decide to sing, and they're really flummoxed by how hard this instrument is.
It really is. And I have to tell you, there's a bit of instrumentalist snobbery out there. I think we've all seen it towards singers. And I always looked at it with another eye, because I grew up playing a lot of musical theater from the pit. I'm a pit musician. And I always admired singers. And I thought it was so interesting that my colleagues thought they were doing something that was easy, quote unquote. And then when I tried it myself and I tried to learn my instrument, the instrument that is me, I had way more respect, even more respect than I had before, because it is hard. It takes way more than it looks like it does.
Yeah. Although I will admit a little bit of the criticism is warranted, because oftentimes singers don't approach their instrument like a musician does, or someone who plays an instrument. And I think you having that discipline before you started the instrument served you very well.
I think it did. One of the things I did notice about singers coming into rehearsal, um, singers first versus me, is that they did not have that practice room mentality that I had. I'm a kid who grew up practicing for 6 hours in a day. When I went to college, I extended it to 7 and just put it in the cracks where I could. And of course, I don't sing for 7 hours a day to rehearse, but my music is prepared very thoroughly because that's how I was quote unquote raised musically, to just be methodical and be super prepared. Um, my colleagues in the musical theater branch sometimes think it's obsessive, but it's just kind of, it might be militaristic to them, but I'm a violinist. What am I going to say?
Yeah, but I think the proof is in the pudding because you work consistently.
I started working after 2 semesters at that conservatory, and I haven't stopped, and it's been a big, big blessing.
Now, speaking of work, we're obviously in a period where for musicians, there's not as much as there used to be. And as we record this, we don't know how long this is going to last. So this brings me to singers basically keeping their sanity, if you will, during this period. And I know there are people who just want to curl up in a ball, and it's completely understandable. This is very stressful. But one of your specialties is helping singers and their mindset. So why don't you give us some of your best tips on how to approach this difficult period?
I would love to. I have been so fascinated with the way that creatives are reacting to the corona crisis. It's varied and it's valid, and there are a lot of people who are experiencing a lot of guilt for not being more productive right now. On the other side, there are people who are writing and doing and meeting and collaborating and doing everything they can to just fill the time because they feel like they're missing out on something. They might lose it all if they don't use everything that they can in this time. But my advice is, first of all, to consider taking rest. In my field, doing 8 shows a week is so heavy. It is so much work. And when I think of doing shows like Bodyguard, where you're delivering 14 Whitney Houston songs every day or twice a day, or shows like Tina the Musical is a bear. It's a physical bear. It's vocally so taxing. And I think that we kind of get used to this rhythm of delivering and taking care of ourselves so that we can deliver again, and taking care of ourselves so we can deliver again. But what if you've been given a period where you just get to take care? And what if that's okay? I just want you to consider, if you're listening to this, if you actually need rest more than you need to produce right now. I have done a mixture of both. I have decided in the morning what feels good for me. Do I need to just step back from it all? Or do I need to write an article? Or do I need to inquire about collaborating with somebody who all of a sudden has a lot of time to collaborate with me? But number one is to consider rest.
And what about those who try and rest and then they just feel guilty that they're somehow wasting this time because they see the people that just keep producing?
The people that are producing are not your problem. One of the things I do on a daily is curate my feed. Whoever I'm scrolling by, it's called a feed because you're consuming it. If it's not something you want to eat, if it doesn't belong in your diet, if it's not healthy for you, do not consume it. And this is not anything to feel like you're being rude. People don't even know it. You don't have to, block them and send angry letters to their house. You just hide them on Facebook, or you prioritize people who you really want to see what they're putting out. I do that a lot on Facebook, that I don't necessarily hide people, but I know that I don't want to scroll that long. So I prioritize groups and services and people that I want to see. And I realize by 2 or 3 scrolls, actually I'm done scrolling, and I've only seen things that build me up, only seen things that are good and healthy for me in this period.
I think that's really important because besides the negativity that you can get from your timeline, You can also see people that just are constantly projecting their perfect life, and they don't mean this to upset people, but that can also be discouraging.
It really can. And I know we all know that it's curated and it's made up and everyone's in their Zoom meeting with laundry to their left and pizza to their right, but it gets hard. And I'm not saying at this time where you're at home all the time, don't consume any media, don't get on social media. Just decide what you want to see, be proactive, and shuffle those people to the bottom. Nothing against them. It's for you. It's not against them. It's for you.
And I would think it could also be helpful to maybe put a timer on your social media, because what I am finding in myself is I'm doing my best to stay really busy and productive, but I also find my brain wanting more distraction.
Uh-huh.
And that is just starting to be something that I'm struggling against a little bit more.
It is, yeah, we do need a few more dopamine hits these days. And it's not the worst thing in the world. And so if you spent yesterday watching all of The Crown, it's really good. What am I gonna, I really can't argue with you there. But do take notice that these are not actually the most pure urges, that you are actually needing a dopamine hit because of the uncertainty in your life. Just notice where those urges are coming from, and maybe do use a timer, or maybe take a day and fast social media.
That's a great idea. Let's talk about vocal routine, or trying to find a routine during this period. What do you suggest vocally?
One of the most exciting things about having more time is get back to basics, because bringing it back to Broadway people, we have been trained so well, we know all the things to do, but practically between a call time and hair and makeup, and sometimes an interview thrown in there, or some unexpected thing, a cast change, these warm-ups get reduced down to almost nothing sometimes, and you learn how to survive, you learn how to make it work, you learn how to, in the wings, silently do your warm-up and stretch and things like this. And it's very, very impressive. But remember, that wasn't the ideal. That is actually not how you warm up. That's how you've been surviving. And now you can revisit the way you used to do things. I mean, I used to jog on the treadmill and hum. I used to make sure that I connected my physical activity to my singing. And I used to do that all the time. And then 8 shows a week happened. And I was like, I'm just so happy. I'm just so happy that I am wide awake. I have an espresso in me. My voice is warm. And I am in a great mood to hit the stage today. But what if we took a visit just for a week? What if we went back to our favorite warm-up, the long version, the one that has some stretching, the one that has yoga, the one that looks at both ends of our range, not just the exciting end that we're trying to extend. Why don't we go back to that version of things?
And then also reconnecting with music, I think is important.
It really is. I tell you, you see it in the media, you see it in all of the shows that are coming back, that the media knows that nostalgia is good for the soul. It does something for us. And one of my favorite ways to treat myself in a way is to go back and sing old rep, especially songs that in the beginning were so difficult for me. I always think about, I love Audra McDonald. I think she's a goddess. And so when I was learning to sing in the beginning, I listened to her album, How Glory Goes, constantly, my little Corolla, I remember. And she's such a great technician that I loved just having that around me. And the first track on there is Any Place I Hang My Hat Is Home. And I remember trying to master that song. I remember deciding, okay, I don't have to do it like her, but I want to do it excellently. And I had a master class early in my time in Hamburg, where I had worked so diligently and had come so far, and it was an open master class. And it just didn't work. It just didn't work. The whole school was there, and I just wanted to nail it. And I was disappointed about it. And my voice teacher said, yeah, it's just part of Elizabeth Eaton. She said, it's just part of the journey. And, it's really okay because all of these people actually look up to you. So it's okay for you to be human in front of them. And I was like, well, I don't want to be human. But, but when I go back now and I hit that rep, I'm transported back to a really, really important time in my life. I see how much I've grown. I see how automatic things have become that were so difficult for me back in the day when I was like, what is a mix? How do I, where do I, who do I, how do I do this? And it's just, it falls into the soul just to revisit things that remind you of why you became a singer, and show you how far you've come. It can also give us a lot of motivation to pick up the other areas of our lives that have kind of fallen by the wayside right now in this time, because anything that feels like a win is encouraging. So if I were to go back and sing a lovely round of Any Place I Hang My Hat Is Home, I would feel less like a girl who maybe wore the same sweatpants for the last 3 days, and more like someone who is slaying at life. And that might make you want to empty the dishwasher and, hang the laundry out. And so going back in time and really just letting nostalgia be the doctor can be really helpful for us right now.
I think that brings us to mindset, which ultimately is the most vital, arguably, component of getting through this time. And talk to me about, because I know that you work with singers on and performers on mindset. You do coaching on that. So talk to us a bit about how you approach mindset.
For me, I find that for a long time we have been fed this picture of the struggling, tortured, starving artist and the wonderful work that they produce. And while that is true, I feel that a whole artist puts out the most beautiful work in the world. I would much rather collaborate with and be a whole artist than someone who is falling apart. And so I really encourage artists to take stock at what's going on mind, spirit, and body right now, especially while we're in this timeout phase. One of my focuses in my coaching is how you present yourself online and stage presence online. Social media stage presence is my jam. I love to help people show up for their daily audition. It's always an audition if you're presenting yourself online, but offline, the person that is there when the lights go out, the person that's there when you win the job or don't win the job, or when, the big moment in the show goes well, or if it doesn't, that is the most important version of you. And so I would love to encourage listeners out there to just take a moment, scribble down how you're feeling, and don't edit it. Even if it doesn't make any sense, don't edit it and read it later, and just take stock, check in with yourself.
I think that's wonderful advice. How can listeners find you?
I am all over the interwebs, but the best place to find me is on Instagram. That's where I live, you guys.
And they can just look up Sidonie?
Yeah, look up Sidonie Smith and you'll find me. I'll be the one with the huge hair.
Yep, and that's Sidone.
Exactly.
Smith. Yes, and then you can also find information about getting in touch with you for one-on-one coaching as well.
That's right.
Sidonie, I want to thank you so much for joining us today.
It was a pleasure. Thank you, John.
Hey, if you want to know more about me, please visit my website, johnhenny.com. And while you're there, be sure to grab my free vocal warm-ups course. It's all about warming up through straws, which is just all the rage these days. I encourage you to get that. I also have my piano course still available for free. So if you want to get some piano chops, if you're a teacher and you need to get your piano playing a bit more up to snuff, or if you're a singer and you want to learn how to accompany yourself, grab that course. It is free right now. It's normally $197. And if you're interested in learning how to be a voice teacher, click on teacher training up in the top menu and you can learn more about my online contemporary voice teacher academy. And until next time, to better singing. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.